Hello everyone and welcome back to another video from the Francophile. It is Jalen and Maria and we hope you all are doing well. In today's video we are going to be giving you all the details about the first year of our master's degrees here in France. So this video is going to be a casual sort of discussion type video where we talk about everything that has to do with the first year of our master's degrees. On our blog and even in other YouTube videos we've touched on different aspects, but in this video we're going to really talk about everything. And yeah, so if you haven't had the time to read all of our blog posts or watch every single update video that we've done, this will be the video to watch for you.
This video about our experience is going to be especially useful for Americans who are looking to enroll in a public French university in a program where the language of instruction is French. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, keep watching.
So before we get started with the video, just make sure to like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on all of our social media. We do have Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and our blog, so check those out, and yeah, let's go.
So we thought to start out, we would give a little bit of our background so that you all could understand where we come from, what we're doing here, and how sort of our story of doing our master's degree in France all came to be.
We did bachelor's degrees in the United States and we double majored in international affairs and French. And at that point we knew we wanted to move to France for an academic year, so we decided to do the teaching assistant program in France, and we taught English for an academic year. We decided that, you know, we really like France, it's the place for us, so after that we applied for master's degrees, got accepted, and that's what we're doing now. So for some more context, we actually did TAPIF from 2019 to 2020, and during that school year is when we started the process of applying to master's degrees in France. So to apply for our master's degrees, we actually used the Études en France application platform, and once that process was finished, we were able to apply for our student visas from the United States.
Once we had our student visas in hand, we were headed off to France, and we arrived in August of 2020.
We came to Reims to start our programs at the Université de Reims-Champagne-Ardenne, which is a public French university. So for me, I decided to do a program in the business realm. It's called a Master's in Management of Production, Logistics, and Procurement.
And for me, I'm actually in law school, and the first year of my master's degree was just called a Master's in Public Law. As of now, our university doesn't charge differentiated fees for non-European students, which meant that for our first year of school, we only had to pay 243 euros each for tuition.
That's not something that every public university does in France, but that's really something that we were looking for when we were applying, and you know, luckily we got in and we're able to take advantage of that. So because we directly enrolled into a public French institution, we are responsible for finding our own housing. I know a lot of study abroad programs take care of that sort of thing for you, but since we're not study abroaders, we really had to do it ourselves. We don't live in any sort of like student housing or youth housing or anything like that. We really just rent an apartment from a private landlord that we found online. So if you want any more details about what our apartment looks like, or how we found it, or what that process is like, you can find all of that stuff in our apartment tour video on this channel.
One thing that can be pretty difficult when you're doing research for master's degrees in France is knowing exactly how long you'll be in class every single week. Coming from the United States, we were used to about 12.5 hours of in-class instruction per week. So imagine our surprise when we came to France and got our schedules, and we had 26 to 29 hours per week of in-class instruction.
Yeah, and another thing specifically for me that surprised me was that the classes that I had weren't at the same time every single week. So my schedule wasn't fixed, whereas yours was.
Yes.
But yeah, mine would change every week. So
I think it just goes to show that everything varies by school and by program. And like I said before, it can be really difficult and even frustrating when you're trying to get an idea of what your time might look like as a master's degree student in France, and it's kind of up in the air.
So during the first year of our master's degrees, we each had 10 or more classes per semester. And these classes were actually broken up into CM classes and TD classes. So the CM is a cours magistral, and in these classes you have lots of students and a professor who is just going to really lecture you. It's basically a lecture class, and you know, you sit there, you take notes, and that's kind of it. Then you have the TD, which is a travail dirigé. And in these classes, you have smaller groups of students, and this is where you can kind of ask the professor or instructor questions, do sorts of like group projects, and have discussions, things like that.
We usually compare it to a seminar class.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more interaction in those classes. It's not really just listening and taking notes. It's more like interacting with the other students and whoever the teacher is of the class. As far as how we were evaluated, there were remarkably few graded assignments in both of our programs. And instead of homework or in-class assignments that were graded regularly, we mostly focused on long-term projects and end of the semester exams.
So for me, my long-term projects were often group projects or even group presentations, and then my exams were mostly written. I didn't have any sort of like oral exams, just kind of multiple choice, fill in the blank, long essay types of exams. But for you, that was not at all the case.
In my case, I generally had 4 types of assignments to complete. The first being group projects that were usually papers that also had a presentation element. The second being papers that I had to write on my own that were in specialized law format. The third being oral exams, and the fourth being written exams.
So even though the exams were high stakes and difficult, Maria and I both finished the year and got our final grades back. Here in France, the grading scale is out of 20, so 10 is a passing grade, and anything above that is even better. I finished my year with a 12.8 out of 20, and Maria finished hers with a 15 out of 20. And so that means that we both finished the year with honors, and we are super proud of that.
So now that we've given you sort of a play-by-play of our experience, we're going to talk about how it went on the whole. And the first thing that I wanted to address is, are we happy with our experience? And if we knew what we know now, would we go back and choose to do it again?
So for me, I think I would say that the first year experience was good. I'm happy with how it went. You know, I learned a lot of new things, which was the point of doing the master's degree. And yeah, I mean, there were a few challenges at the beginning, but nothing major, and I quickly got over those. So yeah, I would say this was a great experience, and I would do it again.
For me, even though I can definitely say that I'm happy with the overall experience, it was not without a lot of challenges and struggling throughout the year. There was a pretty steep learning curve to get over, and I definitely had a tough time. Would I do it again? Yes, because I think at the end of it, I learned what I needed to learn, and I had the experience that I set out to have, but it definitely wasn't easygoing. Next, we wanted to touch on a couple of things that we were not at all prepared for and that took a lot of adapting to get used to. I think for me it was the time commitment as well as the length of the actual classes. Like we said, 26 to 29 hours per week, and classes were up to 4 hours long for me. So that was something that I wasn't ready for and took a while to really get used to.
So for me, I wasn't really prepared to have to find an internship in the way that I did. I thought that there was going to be a lot more guidance in helping students from my program find their internships, but it was really an every person for themselves sort of thing. So I you know, did the search and everything, and it ended up being fine, but that was something I definitely was not prepared for. So now we're going to talk about the most difficult parts of our master's degrees. For me, it was writing my internship report, which in French is called a rapport de stage. I think it was very difficult because it's just a type of assignment that I've never done before. I have never done an internship and therefore never written about an internship. And also it was a long assignment. It was over 30 pages long, and I had very little time to get the assignment done while working full-time. So that was a challenge, but in the end, everything worked out and I got it done.
The hardest part for me was entering an academic field that I had very little prior experience in. From learning technical vocabulary to figuring out French law essay formats to preparing for lengthy oral exams, it took me a really long time to start to feel comfortable in my studies.
So now we're going to move into talking about our favorite parts of our master's degrees. So even though I said that, you know, my internship and the project that went along with it was difficult, is actually my favorite part as well, because I really just like the experience of going to work and getting, real world experience in my field.
My favorite part of the first year was all of the specialized information that I acquired. My program really allowed me to appreciate the diversity of topics in law.
So to finish out the video, we wanted to give a piece of advice to anyone who's interested in coming to study in France, especially Americans or Anglophones. We've noticed that people feel as if they have to compromise their true academic passions in order to come study in France, but that's not the case. For example, Anglophones often default to their ability to speak English, believing that translation, interpretation, or teaching English are their only viable career or study options in France. Maria and I are examples of how it's possible to be an Anglophone who studies in a field that's not directly related to being able to speak English.
Of course, if teaching English or translation or interpretation is your passion, then you should definitely do that. But we have a feeling that a lot of Anglophones count themselves out and don't study what they really want to because they just think it's impossible for them to do so. That's all that we have for you today. We hope you enjoyed watching the video and that it gave you a better idea of what it was really like to do the first year of our master's degrees here in France.
Make sure to check us out on all of our social media. We do have Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and our blog. And take a look at the description of this video because we'll be linking relevant information for you all. Lastly, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Have you studied in France before? Are you interested in studying in France after watching this video? Let us know in a comment down below and we will see you all in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Bye.